guys! Welcome to another episode of Life Unfinished.
And today in our episode, we are going to be talking about long-lasting friendships. So this should be an interesting topic as we've been in a friendship for quite some time.
Yeah.
So feel free to comment and tell us if you agree or disagree, if you have any questions about anything that we say today.
And this is also a great episode to watch with a friend and to kind of discuss some of the things that we go through as well. So remember to subscribe and also follow us on Instagram.
Yes, subscribe, guys. We're getting really good views, but we need more subscriptions. So please hit that little red button that you see at the bottom of the screen there, and we would love to have your support.
Yeah. All right. So,
yeah.
We've been friends for what, 14 years?
Yeah.
I think it is.
About 14 years.
Yeah. So we met each other when we were 10. And then, I was actually new to the city when I met you. So we met each other in elementary school. And then it wasn't until like grade 8 where we like really became closer friends. But we've known each other for 14 years in total. And also in middle school, you invited me to your birthday parties. And I think I invited you to mine too.
I don't know why I did. Not like in a rude way. It was random.
Like before we were like really friends, we were just inviting each other to each other's birthday parties. So, I mean, I'm sure that also helped with the friendship. Yeah. So, that was cool. And now,
I think we became friends in grade 8.
Yeah.
Is when we actually got really, really close. We had an amazing teacher, Miss Ramji Singh.
Yeah.
Maybe she's watching.
Awesome.
I don't know.
Awesome.
She was probably the best teacher we've had. Well, yeah, definitely for me. And she really supported our friendship. She really was close to us as students and encouraged us to do a lot and to just be who we were, really. So we were pretty involved in her class and in the school. And through that year, I think is when we really realized how much we clicked. I think a big way how we clicked was my dad, at that time, my dad was working nights, so he was doing all the cooking at home because he was there in the day. And my dad is a really, really good cook.
Yes, he is.
Definitely my favorite. And I was bringing lunch to school every day, freshly packed, hot lunches. And Ruth, I was like, hey, can I try that? So eventually I started bringing her own portion. My dad loved Ruth. Always loved her then, loves her now. So he was like, I'll just pack her some. So that's kind of how I think we mainly bonded was through food.
She had great lunches, things I'd never had before, like corned beef. And your dad makes amazing cabbage.
Yeah, he's really
to this day, I've never had cabbage better than what your dad makes. So these are things that I had never had before. So it's he has some exotic foods over here. So we wanted to try what she brought.
And that's not, I should have known from then that Ruth is gonna be there for a while, that I really loved her, because I don't like to share. I really don't. Well, I mean, I guess I'm better than now, but back then, my food is my food, And my dad tends to make a lot of my favorite stuff, so to share it with this random girl, and then she was homeless or something, I just shared with her, and that's really how I should have known, okay, this is someone that is like a sister to me, because why am I sharing my lunch with her? She has her own lunch, but yeah, so that's how it really started, I would say. So our friendship then continued throughout high school. What's really interesting is that we didn't have any classes together other than one, and that was our very first class of high school. Funny enough, it was a science class. Mr. Lipa, I don't know how I remember that, but anyways, that was we were so excited. We were like, oh my god, first class, first year, first day. And we're actually in it together. But little did we know we would have no other classes for the remainder of the 4 years of high school. We also went to a really big school, though. I should mention that. We had 2,000 students. So that wasn't uncommon to not have people in your class. But it was just crazy because what is the chances of that? I think we were just studying different things. I think I was more in the social sciences and Ruth was more in the sciences. So that's probably the reason why. But that didn't change anything, honestly. We met up at lunches when we had lunches together. We never had spares together, so we didn't meet up at spares. But we walked to school, to and from school, every day. Yeah. Every single day. And we dreaded that school very much. So we usually left right after school. Ruth was that person who's at the door like this at 3 o'clock on the dot, wondering where everybody is.
Yeah. After that, it was university for us, and so that was a little bit of a different chapter because we had moved away from our home city, and so we came to University of Ottawa. That was we spent our first year in University of Ottawa, and that was a bit of a transition year, I think, for both of us because like the distance was different. Also, it was first year of university, so there was a lot more freedom, and like I guess just exploring. We had a new church, a new school, new city.
Everything.
Yeah, so
It was crazy.
there's a lot of new stuff in that year, but it was also really nice to have each other there. It was nice that I had at least one person from home that I knew and that I was comfortable with, so like it did feel not everything felt completely new because at least we had that, and that was really good, and just it was nice to have.
I don't think we would have, well, I don't think I would have survived first year without Ruth. I think it would have been tough.
Yeah,
for sure. Not that it was a bad year, to be honest. It was a really good year. That's where we met like one of our greatest friends, well, lots of our greatest friends now. I can think of like 2 or 3 that we're still friends with today. Shout out to you, Carly. I know you're watching. And Bats, like Jess. We met so much people in the first year, and as much as we did not want to live on campus and it was really expensive, I'm probably still paying for that today. I don't regret it because we wouldn't have met those people without it. So it was nothing to do with the people. Like honestly, the people were amazing. We clicked instantly. It was such an adjustment. Ottawa is so different from Toronto.
Yeah.
So we were just like really getting used to the fact that everything was so different. That's all it really was, I would say.
And I remember, like, I literally remember like the first night coming to Ottawa, and to be honest, I didn't think it would like affect me that much. But I remember after my family dropped me off and everybody had gone back home, and like the first night in my room, and I was looking at the 4 walls and it was tiny. Like our rooms were tiny.
It's like a box.
And I remember like looking around and bawling. Like I was crying, and I called my mom. I was like, I don't want to be here.
She did not tell me
like
that,
it was tiny. And it was just, I don't know, it just felt so different. I felt like isolated. I felt like I don't know anything or anyone here. It was just, so anyways, at the very least, we had each other. And so that helped make it a better experience.
And I think after a few weeks, we adjusted and we were fine. We were having tons of fun.
For sure.
The hardest adjustment for me was, the campus and for the church, like the new church. Not that the new church was bad. We were so close with our youth group. Back in Toronto, so that was really hard for us.
Yeah. So throughout the years of our friendship, there's definitely been some challenges, and not just challenges for us, but we have like a main core group of four of us girls, and so there's just been challenges within our friendship, and we wanted to talk about some of that and what it takes to maintain a lasting friendship and a healthy friendship as well. So not just someone who you know and like you consider an acquaintance but you call a friend, but like a genuinely healthy relationship. And so for us, especially when we came to university, one of those challenges was distance, because we didn't all go to the same university. Toya and I were at the same university, but our other 2 friends were at different universities, and both in different cities. So between the 4 of us, there were 3 different cities and 3 different schools, and so it was very challenging to maintain communication and also kind of stay up to date with what was happening with one another. And it really did require more effort because we weren't going to see each other like we used to before. We lived very close to each other in our home city, and so we didn't really have to make that much of an effort to see each other. We went to school together for the most part, most of us. We went to school together, walked to school together, we had church together on Fridays. Like it was kind of built in that we would see each other frequently. But then when we moved away, that became harder. So then we had to call each other more often, and then when we did go home, also making time to see each other and hang out. And it can be very challenging, especially when life gets busy. And it can also be challenging just to update your friends on what's happening in your life. But I feel like sometimes, especially if you're going through a harder place, I feel like it might be a little bit harder, or at least for me, it was harder to say, well, like, yeah, this is going on, because it's easy for Latoya to call and be like, hey, like, what's up, or how you doing? And I'm like, oh, good. Meanwhile, like I'm struggling with all of these things, and I'm feeling like I'm failing school and I want to drop out, but I'm like, oh, well, good, because I don't want to take the time to explain. Whereas if she was around me more often, she might just naturally see those things, and so I wouldn't have to put in the effort myself to explain it. But that was something that I know for me I had to work on, and even now I'm still working on, is updating people on what's really going on in my life and how I'm feeling about whatever area of life that I'm in right now. And so with distance, it is harder, but it's not impossible. And keeping each other accountable to that as well is one way that we work on building our friendship over time. So saying like, hey, you can call me or I'll call you, or setting a date to call each other. With one of our friends, Ashana, that was something that we did, because I found that with me and her, we were going longer periods of times without talking. And so I said, okay, well, like every 2 weeks on Monday, we'll call each other. Even if it's just 10 minutes or 5 minutes, like if you're on your way somewhere, that's fine. It's just like to touch base so we don't lose touch, and so that we remember to connect with each other. So you can definitely make it happen. It's just going to require effort on everybody's part. Definitely. To make sure that it works together.
And sometimes it's hard too, because you feel like so much has happened.
Yeah.
And you don't want to like spend the conversation complaining or like taking up too much of the conversation. I know for me and Lashana, can talk for like 10 hours straight. It's just because our personalities, we were both pretty talkative, and a lot of times we'd be like, where do I start? You know, it's not the same as face-to-face contact, and you just kind of want to like capture that moment. So a lot of times we'd be like, okay, when I see you, and then we had to start being like, okay, no, what's going on? Because she'd feel like, what? That happened? They said that? When? You know, and I'm like, oh, long story, you know. But I think a big part of that is eliminating the whole long story laziness, really, and just taking the time to break it down, you know. And you don't have to get through everything in the one conversation. Just pick even just one event each. And this is what's really like bulk of my life right now. And I think what was a little bit hard with that too is like 3 of us, you know, the 4th one coming soon, got engaged in that time. So it's so tough when like the other person's getting engaged and you're like, to who? Like, I don't know you. Why are you marrying my friend? So that is tough, because you want to get to know them, and when you envision your friend getting married, you envision like being there through the process, because we're always around each other when we're dating and crushes and stuff like that, right? This is the first time ever we're like presenting this person being like, oh, I plan to marry them, and you have no idea who they are. You just gotta trust that like this is a good person, and to not be too protective or too like analytical, you know,
or defensive too. Because when you don't know the person, like like her spouse or our other friend's spouse, like it can sometimes feel like, are you sure this is the right one? Just because you don't know who they are. And so that was definitely something that I feel like we all of us had to work on.
Yeah, so it can work, guys, honestly. Aside from distance, another thing that's really, really important, I think, if not maybe the most important, is acceptance. Yeah. You have to really be able to accept who your friends are, accept where they're at, and love them through it all. I think we live in a generation that is so judgmental. We have so much expectations for people, but kind of like in a marriage, like you sign up for life. Yeah. And what I find with our generation is we don't have that perspective. It's kind of like, you know, new year, new friends. You know, we don't value friendships. Like, one of the things that we get a lot, like, in our group is like, you guys are still friends? Like, I get that all the time, especially when I post pictures. And people say, like, are you actually still friends? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's not like we're kind of, like, we're still very close.
Or we see each other here and there, and we take a picture, and it's like, no.
Like, we are very involved. And what's so awesome is, like, weeks, months can go by, and, like, I still know, like, okay, if I need something, I can call Nikayla. It doesn't matter what it is. If I'm sad, I can call the shit. Like, it's never like, I don't know, I haven't spoken to that person in a long time. And I believe it's because of acceptance. Because honestly, we all have our similarities, but we are all very different. And we all need very different things. And it's really just accepting that person, and not just like in a burdensome way, but like in a like embracing them. If I think about Nikayla, for example, Nikayla can talk for like 20 hours, you know, not in a bad way. Like, she goes into detail, and she goes into, which is an awesome quality, I think, because I think the rest of us are kind of like trying to find a way to be more detailed. Well, we're not listening to that, but me and Ruth are trying to find, and Nikayla's gonna give you like A to Z of her,
and everything that happened in between.
Yeah, and how she's feeling in the moment too, you know, and then comment on the bird that just flew by. It's amazing. And for me, at first, that was tough because it's like, this is so different. But now it's something that I can embrace and I can love about her, and I can accept in her. You know, it's not like, oh, why is she still talking? It's like, man, this is so great. Like, this is so typical Nikhil. Like, we all laugh about that, you know? And we're not ever encouraging her to not be like that. And that's the key, is like, I'm not trying to change her and she's not trying to change us, and like, why don't you guys talk more? Why don't you guys give me more detail, you know?
Very true.
That is so, like, so important. Or even like in uni first year, I went through a phase of a lot of isolation, and a lot of that came from just things that I was struggling with that I hadn't really dealt with until uni. Like, I never been forced to deal with them until that time, and it was tough. Like, it was tough, not just for me, but I'm sure it was tough for everyone else. And I remember one thing that really stood out to me is Ruth and Clay were just there. Like, as much as I know it was annoying, they just accepted, okay, this is where she's at. This is who she is right now, and she'll come out of it. And that was really just what it was. Like, no matter, I remember Clea was saying, like, that's my sister. Like, you're my sister. No matter what, you're my sister. And it's that assurance that this person accepts me despite of my funk. That's what I'm gonna call it. Despite of my flaws and just those seasons. Because we all have seasons, right?
Yeah,
where
for sure.
there's always gonna be that season where one friend is encouraging the other friend more than the other. And it's not about this. There's not a competition. It's really just like, wherever and you are and whatever your season you're in, I'm here. Whether you want me there or not, you know, I'm here. And that confidence that this person is not going to walk away from me. And that is, I think, the key to lasting friendships.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people live in that fear of like, will this person walk away from me? You know, that fear of like, what's going to happen when you get married? Like, I never felt like that. I was always just like, yeah, I get married, you know, like, because you're so confident that wherever I'm at, I accept you. Yeah. Like, I never worried about Ruth abandoning me, or like, it's like, okay, cool. Maybe we'll have some sleepovers, but you know, you're still there. So that to me is everything. Accepting the flaws, the benefits, the everything, the quirkiness, the differences in personalities is everything. Because people are not supposed to be like you. People are supposed to be like them. And once we can like grasp that and be okay with that, I see no reason to fall out of a relationship.
And so everything you said is completely true. And something else that you mentioned earlier was hurt. And it's so important to, if you're gonna have a friendship, if you want to have a genuine, a healthy friendship with someone, you need to be willing to allow them to hurt you. Now, I'm not saying
boldly.
And that doesn't mean that you put yourself in a situation to be hurt, as if like you're seeking it out. That's not what we mean. But in life, you are going to be hurt by people. You cannot avoid hurt if you have genuine relationships with people. So you need to be willing to be hurt by this person and recognize that even when you are hurt, their intention is not negative. Their intention is not to hurt you, even though they might have. And so you need to be willing to forgive them and look past whatever hurt it is you feel and try to get to the root of whatever their issue is and try to help them in that situation. I think for us, one thing that we can say is that we all feel very secure in our friendship, and we're not, like Latoya said, it's not like we're concerned about, hey, you know, I know that if I hurt Latoya, yes, it's going to be something that we have to work through. We're going to have to communicate through that, of course. But at the end of the day, I'm not thinking, oh, well, last week I hurt her. Yeah. So there goes our friendship. We're never going to be friends again. And I don't feel that way with any of my friends. If I do hurt them, one thing that I truly feel that will happen is that they'll let me know. Because sometimes you don't always know when you hurt people as well,
Most
right?
times.
Even your friends, even the people who know you very well and that you know very well, you won't always know when you've hurt someone. Sometimes you could just say something in passing or as a joke, and then someone internalizes that. You don't know. And so for us, it's important that, and I think for the most part, we've established that if we have been hurt by one another, we will communicate that so that we can say, hey, you did this, or whatever the situation might be, but we'll talk about it and then find a way to move forward.
A lot of times, even in the moment, like Nikela is so famous for that. So Nikela's like, why are you being rude right now? Or you guys are upsetting me right now, you know? And it's like, it's funny, but it's not, like, in the sense of, like, it's such a good thing, because with most people you can't do that, because then it maybe becomes an awkward moment.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, sorry, like, I didn't mean to say that, and you move on. Like, that's just what it is. And something that Ruth said that I really, really, like, I really agree with is that confidence and that assurance that it wasn't intentional. Because really, you gotta know people's character. And if I really believe in my friend's character, which I would hope that I do, then I know that, like, Ruth is never saying anything with the thought in her head, oh, this is gonna get Latoya, you know, and vice versa. And I think that's our problem, especially now. I think we can all agree this is a time of offense. People are offended by Father's Day, like people are offended by everything.
Anything, yeah.
And it's
Anything.
weird. And I think it's such a sad reality. But you have to at least have confidence in some people.
Yeah.
If not everyone, in some people, that their goal is not to hurt you. I would honestly say 99% of the time, people don't even mean to hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided in our minds that they have.
And that doesn't mean that they didn't hurt you. Yes, they did. In some ways they did. But they didn't mean to. Their intention wasn't malicious. And when we really think about this, I really don't believe that there are many people who are waking up in the morning thinking, how can I hurt this person today? Like,
I hope not.
I don't believe, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just don't think that for the most part, that's, people's thought process. And so, yeah.
And I think the best way we can sum this up is, and this might sound weird, but expect hurt.
Mm-hmm,
be excited when they hurt you. That means they're being human. They're being real. And move past it. Don't hold it against them. If Ruth promised me something and then she broke her promise, I shouldn't think that I'm never gonna ask her again to do something for me, because it's not godly. And as you guys know, we're Christian, so it's not even like that shouldn't be part of our character anyway. And it's not practical. Mm-hmm. People are gonna hurt us, and we should still trust them after that point, just as much as we trusted them before that point.
And being hurt in a relationship really does challenge you. Mm-hmm. And when you're able to get past it, it also draws you closer to the person, because okay, well, we've been able to get through that. So next time, if something else does come up, I'm also secure that we'll be able to get through whatever else comes up again in the future, because you never know what the future holds, right? And I think a lot of times we go through friendships never experiencing hurt, and so to us they're great friendships until someone hurts you, and then you know how you feel about them. Because people are so quick to cut off their friends.
Sad.
And I'm like, if this is someone who you consider a friend, would you not want to salvage that relationship and realize, okay, well, yes, it did hurt me, but not intentionally. So when you're able to work past that hurt or whatever it is that happened between you and a friend, it truly does bring you closer. Mm-hmm. And I think that strengthens your friendship as well for the future.
If I can't hurt you, I can't offend you, I can have a bad day, there's a problem. Yeah. There's definitely a problem.
So thank you guys for listening. And I think if you resonate with some of these things that we talked about and some of the topics and stuff like that, jump in the comments and let us know. Also share this with a friend. This is a conversation that maybe you can have with a friend, and hopefully that will strengthen your relationships with your friends and bring you guys closer to each other as you discuss some of these things.
And remember to subscribe, like the video, and I really challenge you guys to sit down and challenge your friendships. Think about, does this apply to you? Is there any way you can maybe be a better friend? Maybe say some apologies to some people if you realize that these are not areas you're focusing on.
Or forgive someone as well.
Yes, forgiveness. We should talk about that maybe next time. But love you guys.
Take care.